In the news this week, 4-day work week for WA civil servants. Union leaders push for better efficiency without reducing pay. An exclusive interview coming up.
Also tonight, marching for yes. Perth joins other cities on the Voice campaign, despite opinion polls indicating a no victory. Nurses' wage discussions continue as the WA health workers remain the lowest paid in Australia.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Maliva Thorne.
Good evening. The discussion on 4-day work week in Western Australia continues, with the union says public sector workers should be given the choice. As the debate on work-life balance drags on, Union's WA Secretary Owen Whittle says he will push the idea to be adopted across the board, and the Cook government should come to the table with new ideas as wage negotiations begin. He joined me exclusively on this matter. Owen, thanks for joining me. Are there any progresses when it comes to the idea of a 4-day work week for WA civil servants as the wage policy negotiations coming up?
Look, we're in the process of negotiating with state government the next round of wages policy. The predominant conversation there is about the pay of workers. We've had a government that has suppressed the wages of their workforce for far too long, and they've fallen far below inflation. In fact, a lot of occupations like teachers and firefighters, we've seen about their real wages drop in excess of 10%. What we will say to government is that if they don't come to the table with a good wages policy to properly value and pay the public sector workforce, and there will be an ask of the trade union movement around a variety of other things. And if government can't find the money to pay their workforce properly, they should come to the table with things like a 4-day working week to ensure that, they're properly valuing the important work that many of our public sector workers do in the economy.
If the government says yes on the 4-day workweek idea, how will it look and what will it mean for WA civil servants and the public?
Look, there would have to be a change in thinking in government to be able to adopt this. And saying that, there would be challenges in terms of adopting it into a workforce as diverse as the state public sector. I don't think there would be a one-size-fits-all ability to be able to do that. You've got everything from schools and hospitals to professional workforces to child protection, workers who are on coal. There's challenges in there, but it's not insurmountable.
What about pay? Should it be reduced if it's a 4-day work week?
There should be no reduction in pay at all. Cost of living won't go down for workers. It's not like because they're doing a 4-day working week that all of a sudden their rent's going to drop $200 a week. There should be no loss of pay at all.
You say there needs to be a change in thinking for the state government to adopt a 4-day work week. What sort of change we need from premiers and ministers?
Look, I think for too long the state government's looked at their public sector workforce not as managers or leaders of their public sector workforce, but they look at it as a inconvenience and a budgetary measure and a political measure. I think there does need to be a change of thinking from state government to manage the public sector workforce better, to lead it better, particularly around pay and conditions. For far too long they've been compressing pay as a political measure, as a budget repair measure, instead of looking at other opportunities such as revenue raising. They can use the public sector as a bit of a political football at times. So I think we need government to lead by giving better pay and conditions to the public sector workers.
And you can read the full story available now on the WAMN Extra News Club. Owen Whittle, Secretary for Unions WA, thanks for your time.
Thanks.
The Voice referendum concluded its second week of campaigning as controversies surrounding Marcia Langdon's remarks continue. Meanwhile, Jacinta Price's comments at the National Press Club regarding intergenerational trauma also prompted backlash towards the no camp as Parliament wraps up before the poll. Here is veteran political journalist Peter Kennedy's Week 2 analysis.
It's clear that the referendum campaign, as it enters its final 4 weeks, is starting to hot up, and a big emphasis on developments in Western Australia. Earlier in the week, Marcia Langdon, one of the leading lights in the Yes campaign, speaking in Bunbury, made some comments that she probably might have regretted, saying that no campaigners, people who were considering voting no, could be either racist or stupid. Now, she's since clarified that and said context is an important thing, and of course context is an important thing. But it certainly raised the level of the debate, or the heat in the debate, and caused considerable controversy. Also during the week, Senator Jacinta Price, one of the leading supporters of the No campaign, speaking at the National Press Club, fended off some of the yes arguments, and Senator Jacinta Price, one of her main points was, in fact, she says, a treaty with Aboriginal people and the Australian people is not needed because Australia was not at war. And so that if Australia's not at war, you don't need a treaty. Senator Jacinta Price's role has been very interesting, and as an Aboriginal woman and a very articulate Aboriginal woman from Alice Springs, regional Australia, Alice Springs, where there have been reports of considerable problems with Aboriginal people and lawlessness, etc. She has been a very formidable advocate for the No campaign and could well, in fact, be the difference between winning and losing as far as the yes and no case is concerned. One other point, Aboriginal Affairs Minister Linda Burney has been reported as saying that she's been subjected to bullying during the campaign. Now, not quite sure what the bullying not quite sure what the bullying relates to, although she has been under intense questioning in the Parliament from the opposition regarding the referendum and the yes and just what a voice actually means. And look, that's fair comment from the opposition to subject the relevant minister to intense questioning. That's what question time in Parliament is all about. Now, if that's Linda Burney's problem, then that is a very difficult issue for her and raises the question whether she's up to the job. And was it right for Mr Albanese to give her the portfolio for what was known to going to be a bruising referendum campaign? But these are all issues which will be sorted out in the next few weeks. It does raise the level of, that raises the sort of profile, I guess, of the referendum debate. But as I said at the start, the debate, the campaign is entering its final 4 weeks. In fact, in just 2 weeks' time, early voting will start in Western Australia on Monday, October the 2nd, 2 weeks before the actual polling day. So both sides have got limited time to press their arguments as we come down to the wire. A very interesting couple of weeks coming up. Peter Kennedy, WAMN News.
Hi there. Are you looking for a new home or want to refinance your car mortgage to get a better rate? At AA Finance Solutions, we have the expertise and knowledge to help you to find the right loan for your needs and budgets. Contact us today. Let us help you to make your home ownership dream a reality.
AA Finance Solutions, your local mortgage broker.
Continuing our coverage on the Voice to Parliament, and the Yes 23 campaign has launched a massive walking ceremonies in capital cities across the nation today. Meanwhile, in Perth this morning, prominent Indigenous leaders, federal and state politicians, campaigners and citizens marched from Optus Stadium to Perth City via the Matagara Bridge. The turnout has been massive despite opinion polls across the nation pointed towards a victory for the No camp in Western Australia and other states. Leaders are emphasising the importance of voting yes to ensure the well-being of First Nations people in Australia.
I think, we're 4 weeks away. People are just learning about this referendum. Not everyone knows about it. So this kind of walk is a great positive action for people to learn more about the vote for yes and the voice to Parliament.
The Australian Nursing Federation is continuing their fight for better pay as the next pay increase will come into force in October. The unions say the government must improve pay and working conditions for nurses and midwives. Otherwise, they will move to eastern states to receive better benefits. The ANF is pushing for the return of the 1,200 allowance, and the Secretary-General is confident.
Janet Ray, remember.
Okay.
The ANF is pushing item. Keep going, 3, 2, 1.
The ANF is pushing for the return of the 1,200 allowance, and the Secretary-General is confident that WA health workers will accept the deal.
Well, our nurses and midwives in Western Australia are now the lowest paid in the whole of the country. We don't have ratios, we don't have a timeline for ratios until the deal is signed, and we're losing staff. The health department can say that they've increased the workforce by X amount, but they're not telling us how many are leaving or cutting hours, and that's a big issue.
A father and 2 children were hospitalised after a fire engulfed their home in Rockingham this week. It happened at 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and the intense blaze also affected neighbouring houses. 3 fire stations dispatched 35 firefighters and several units to contain the blaze, which was extinguished just after 1 p.m. The property engulfed by the fire has been structurally damaged, but the full impact needs to be assessed. A DFAS WA fire spokesman says the department has arranged crisis care for the family involved.
A 30-year-old man who was an associate of the Coffin Cheaters bikie gang was arrested by police after they seized 15 kilograms of methamphetamine in remote bushland. According to law enforcement, the man was observed entering the bushland on Fishhawk Road with a shovel. Authorities allege that he used the tool to unearth 1 kilogram of methamphetamine, which had been allegedly concealed in the ground within 2 barrels. Police further allege that he attempted to flee from detectives, but was apprehended following a brief foot pursuit. As police approached the man's nearby car, they discovered that he had left a 3-year-old child unattended in the vehicle while he went to retrieve the drugs and attempted to evade the pursuing officers. The 30-year-old man, who is an associate of the Coffin Cheaters, has been charged with multiple offences. He was refused bail and appeared in Perth Magistrates Court this week.
Can you read the first sentence quickly again? 3, 2, 1.
A 30-year-old associate of the Coffin Cheaters bikie gang was apprehended by the police after they seized 15 kilograms of methamphetamine in remote bushland.
One of Western Australia's vital pieces of World War II history will receive better preservation efforts, with the federal government releasing $750,000 commemorative grants to be shared by associations around the nation. Here in Perth, the Royal Australian Artillery Historical Society of WA received over $125,000 to develop and expand the Leighton Battery Heritage Site at Mossman Park. Federal Veterans Affairs Minister Matt Keogh made a rare joint announcement with Federal Teal MP Kate Cheney following a tour at the site.
The dedicated group of volunteers have been developing the site. We concentrated on the 6-inch site and on the tunnels, getting those up and running. And it's taken a few years, but now we're with some help from the town of Mossman Park and from Lotteries West earlier on, and now saluting the service grants, we should be able to bring the 5.25 project to a conclusion. And so, touch wood, if you come back in 12 months' time, you should be able to see the fruits of the job.
Well, that's a very valuable piece of history. How did it feel to be down in the dungeons, Ivan?
It's actually very, very narrow, and the stairs are actually quite steep, and you can see their living conditions are not as good, but very important history, and I think it's great to be preserved.
And now, here's Leo Puglisi with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. On 6 News, thousands of marching rallies across Australia supporting a yes vote in the Voice to Parliament referendum. Tributes from across the footy world after the death of legendary player and coach Ron Barassi. Parts of New South Wales warned to brace for more hot weather as thousands of runners endure the heat for the 2023 Sydney Marathon. Watch live whenever you want on our YouTube channel and, of course, our website, 6newsau.com. For now, though, it is back to you.
Thanks, Leo, and that's our news for this week.
We'll be back next weekend. Of course, the latest news on the website, wamnews.com.au, and don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club, wamnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.